Lindsay, Fred, Rob. Hey, how are you? Good.
Great. Like twice today? Yeah, that's true. I can do that. Everybody lives in the law talk.
It says, first of all, this is the hometown show. That's first, that's why we just
Fred, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Absolutely.
I like my yoga instructor. She's like the same thing. Don't forget to breathe. All right. Passing out.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Toastmasters on this beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you all for being here. I believe a lot of people are probably outside, biking, doing outdoor activities. Hopefully we get a lot of people showing up here in the next few minutes. A couple announcements to begin, really reminders. Please remember, and I know we have a smaller group here right now, but I'll continue to announce this and remind this. When someone is speaking, giving their speech, whether icebreaker speech, impromptu speech, thank you very much. Please wait to come in through the door so we don't distract those that are speaking especially, but also those that are listening. In addition to that, I did announce this briefly last week, but depending on our roles, I believe at times we start to redefine our roles if we want to take more time speaking up here. An example of that is if I'm Toastmaster, it's literally just filling my role, inviting those up, helping to direct the course of the meeting. The same goes for general evaluator, other positions. Is this making sense? So when you're up here, please stick to your role. The reason being, we don't want to have too much filler time that's used during our meeting, and we really want to provide value and content for those that are speaking, perhaps giving more time for an additional impromptu speech, whatever that might be. So please limit your time when you're up here and focus on the role that you're filling that day. We're also going to be passing around, rather than having it on our desk up here, the sign-in sheet. Please sign in. We're getting a few and far between sign-ins. We really want to track those that are coming consistently. And more than that, if you fill out your correct email, whenever we encounter issues about those that may not have received a welcome email or may not have access to our shared Google folder with information about our chapter, that's what we're going to do to track to make sure that your information is correct and that you're getting all the value you need as a part of our meeting. I also want to recognize any new guests today, honorary guests here in attendance, maybe bearing gifts. So would you like to introduce yourself? Those bearing gifts get to introduce themselves first.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm Lori Wilker, I'm the District 15 Director, and your banner and your lectern are here.
Wow. Sure. Thank you.
And this is a foldable lectern. You don't have a table up, you guys can figure it out later. But anyway, we got the.
Maybe we can figure out a waistband situation and you just carry the lectern.
Yeah.
We'll figure out something. Yeah, we'll figure out something. But thank you very much. Is anyone else visiting for the first time? Hello, would you like to introduce yourself?
Lead chapter, first time.
Hi, Lee.
Hello.
Excellent, thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Well, without any further ado, we're already ahead of schedule. I'm gonna go ahead and pass the time to our honorary Toastmaster today, Annette.
I'm going to add to Chris's instructions. Last week, we had to run you down. So if you're done talking, remember, we shake hands and we, before you leave here. So try and do that. I know this is really nerve-wracking. I think first time ran away too, and I didn't stop to shake hands with the Toastmaster or the general evaluator or whoever's up here. So make sure that we take the time to turn that over. I'm so honored to be here, you guys, and be the Toastmaster. I'm like the MC of the party here today. And based on our agenda and our speakers, we have an opportunity to be thoroughly educated and entertained, I'm sure. We've had such great meetings, I think, in the past. I'm looking forward to this afternoon. I can put a quote up here. This is probably why it took me 20 years to join Toastmasters. I knew it was going to push me. I knew it was going to push me into boundaries, into new areas for growth. I think a lot of us, that's probably why we put off a lot of things that are going to be for our benefit, is because we don't think we're ready to be out of our comfort zone. And I would encourage each of us in our evaluations and in our critiquing and things like that to keep that in mind. We're all out of our comfort zone when we come up here. And so to be gracious and thoughtful in our comments. First of all, let's do a roll call of who's here and their duties and who's involved. So our grammarian is Dan Conley. You're here. Woo! Excellent. Dan, I'm actually going to turn the stage over, or the podium, to you to do your grammarian, and then we'll go on with the roll call from there.
Okay, great.
Okay? Let's welcome Dan up here. Gotta remember to clap. Put the paper away and clap. How are you?
Oh, sorry,
I look forward to this.
I didn't clap.
That's okay.
Okay, so, I don't know if I heard this recently, but this is the word. Should be a real fun one for the speakers.
What does it mean?
It means, glad you asked. It's an adjective and it means transcendent, surpassing, or superior, being beyond ordinary or common experience, thought, or belief, supernatural, abstract or metaphysical, idealistic, lofty, or extravagant.
Do you have the definition to write it?
Do you want me to write it up there?
I'll write it.
Can you use it in
Use it in a sentence. Let me look at that one more time. It is a sentence. Okay. The way that Michael Jordan played in the '98 NBA Finals was transcendental to the way the other players played. Okay. Oh, you got it up.
You got two.
Should we put it up?
Yeah, you got
It's too big to go up there.
There is an AO on it. There is an AO.
Yeah, right.
tape.
I have a smaller one if you want it. I got some tape.
Okay, what's going on right here?
Sorry.
All right.
Dan, you ran away.
I didn't. Went to get
Oh,
the
he went to get a
one, so
smaller version. Oh, okay. I was like,
So I can
wait,
tape it
wait,
up
he
there.
left. There's nobody here.
I got tape or something. There we go. Came prepared. I was a Boy Scout. Are we putting this right here? Okay.
Beyond ordinary. That's excellent. Transcendental.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're all here, is for an opportunity to have an transcendental experience, right?
That's great.
Something that isn't ordinary. Well, let's continue on. Is John with our educational moments? John's not here. Ruby, do you have an educational moment for us or anything that you think would be helpful to our meeting?
Sure.
Thank you, Ruby. Spontaneous.
Thank you. John is supposed to give an educational moment, but I will go ahead and replace that and just talk about evaluations. Just because I am the general evaluator today, so I'll be observing the meeting, how it starts. Are we giving enough respect to the podium? Are we shaking hands? Are we being enthusiastic? And in our feedback, positive criticism, things we can improve on, and ending on a positive note so we can improve for the next time. I hope you guys enjoy the meetings. If you guys have any more questions on evaluations, just eye contact, audience engagement, getting your topic across, volume, professionalism as much as we can do. So when you're evaluating someone, just look for those things, look for eye contact, things that we can all improve on. And of course, the nerves get the best of everyone, so putting that aside, things we can improve on every week. I really enjoy being here, but if there's any other questions, please feel free to ask at the end of the meeting. But thank you.
Our roll, let's continue on. Has everyone got an agenda to look at? Y'all got one? Y'all. I hung out with some Southerners over the weekend. It's still there. I look right at you, right? Chris Ferguson is going to be our counter. Keep track of my ums and so's and likes. Yeah, thank you. Remind me to clap. Dan Conley, we're introduced to, is our grammarian. The goal is to use transcendental in at least one place when you're up here, no matter what it is you're doing, at least one place. So try and be thinking of how you're going to fit that in a moment. Sue Cragen is filling in as topic master for us. Thank you, Sue. Okay, so anybody who doesn't know who Sue is.
It's you.
Kenzie Cooley is our timer. Kenzie's back here. Green is you hit your minimum time. Yellow is start finding a way to wrap it up, and red is end it. Cut it off, right? Okay. And I don't need to necessarily give out the times or anything. Everyone just pay attention. Green is you've hit the minimum. Yellow, start wrapping it up, and red, be done. Ruby, who you met just a moment ago with our educational moment, is our first general evaluator. She will introduce all of our evaluators. Our first evaluator who will be evaluating Joanna for us is Eric Trujillo. Trujillo. I'm trying too hard. Too many syllables in there, aren't I? Trujillo. Thank you, Eric. I practiced it actually before I came, and it sounded good out in the parking lot, but oh well. I just messed it up here. And then our next speaker is Brad Christensen. His evaluator is Dustin Erickson. Thank you for volunteering when you're relatively new and you volunteer. That's right, helpful right away. Get those nerves out of the way, otherwise you'll talk yourself out of it. You guys are awesome. Yeah, you guys are awesome. What else did I want to mention? Oh, I've got another quote for you since we're running a little bit ahead of time. I think, aren't we? Who's our timer?
We're right on time.
Yeah, are we? Okay,
Yeah.
yes, right straight back. Thank you. I don't know why I looked at Chris. Nerves. We cannot become what we want to be by remaining what we are. By Max Dupree. Anyway, let me turn the time over to our first speaker, Joanna Williams. And she's going to be talking about personal development.
Well, thank you, Annette, and thank you, fellow Toastmasters, for being here. How wonderful to see you all. I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak again, and I had requested to do my icebreaker over again so that I could hopefully improve. But instead of giving the exact same speech, I'm going to give you another chapter in my life. Last time I talked a little bit about my youth, growing up as an Army brat, and some of the lessons I learned in life as a result of those experiences. Today I'm going to take you on another journey for another chapter of my life. Think back to 2007. At the beginning of 2007, I started practicing real estate. I got my license at the end of 2006. Started real estate, joined Realty Executives with George Morris, and he was a co-owner. And I had a pretty good year. That first year, I think I sold 12 homes. That wasn't too bad for a first year. I thought it was pretty good. And then 2008 came, and I think a lot of us remember that we had a terrible real estate crash. It affected the economy, my husband's job, was pretty well non-existent. My career was sputtering. By the end of '08, we were behind on our mortgage payments, and we didn't have any financial resources. So we decided to short sell our home, and I had a sister in Texas, where I'm from, who offered me a job, and January 1st, 2009, we loaded up the U-Haul and headed for Dallas. That was a hard time. In Texas, we did all right. We had one sister who opened up her home to us. We lived with her. The other sister employed me. My husband was fortunate enough to find a job in a plumbing supply store, just an hourly wage type job. So we were doing okay. We started to get our feet back under us. I decided to get my real estate license in Texas. The idea was that I would work full-time at the dialysis clinic, but I would start building my real estate business and, we'd really get going. Well, I sold 2 homes that year. One was to my dad and one was to my nephew. In 2010, my husband and I both were desperately missing our family, our children and our grandchildren. We knew we could do better than we were doing. We made a tough decision and decided to come back to Utah. That meant we were going to be living in my daughter's basement. That was great. We achieved one of our objectives, which was to be close to our children and grandchildren. But it was pretty humiliating to be 50 years old and moving in with your daughter. So I called George and I said, George, how's the market? And I said, do you think I can really make a living selling real estate now? And of course, he had just started this cute little real estate company called Everest Realty Group. And he asked me to join. And I was scared to death. I had no confidence in myself. It's pretty low. But I had faith in George. So I went to our first summit meeting, the first summit meeting as Everest Group for me. It was my first summit meeting. And George was speaking, and he said something that really stirred me that day. He said, are you tired of what life is serving you? I said, I absolutely am tired of this. I am tired of depending on someone else for paying my bills. I am tired of depending on someone else for finding a bed to sleep in. I am tired of this. This is not what I want. I was tired of waiting for life to bring me what I wanted. It was time for me to make a change. And I decided at that point in time, right there at that meeting, that I was going to make a change. I determined I would have a successful business. I committed myself to working tirelessly to make enough money to buy a home for ourselves and to provide my family with all the dreams and expectations that we had planned on. It was a big step for me. It was probably the biggest step I took in my personal development. Joining this company has been a big part of personal development for me. And we talk about personal development a lot here, but what does it really mean? What does it mean to you? To me, it meant personal fulfillment. Not that I have arrived, I'm still working on it, but personal development meant I didn't have to sit back and wait. It meant I could take some control, I could take some action and help make my dreams come true. Sometimes personal development has a bit of a, bad connotation. Some people, my children, think that I'm constantly harping on personal development. But personal development is a way that we can accomplish our goals. It is a way for us to be proactive. and to make good things happen for us, not just wait for them to happen to us. When you put the effort into developing yourself, the rewards are amazing. You may not always achieve your goals, you may not always hit the pinnacle you're looking for, but your life will be richer. It will be transcendental. The greatest achievers in the world know that their success depends on personal development. And I just want to close with a quote from Carol Bryant. She says, "Know who you are and be it. Know what you want and go out and get it."
So much. That was wonderful, Joanne. Notes I took down while you were speaking was personal development, and I love this, is taking control, is moving myself forward and being proactive. Thank you for that. Our next speaker is Brad Christensen. I draw blanks. I know your name, but I draw blanks. I mean, I had to ask Sue what her last name was. What's your last name? Okay.
Thank you for that introduction, and thank you all for being here and giving me an opportunity to redeem myself. Last time I was disqualified. I had the club record for the longest 6-minute talk ever given. I have 5 children. They're all married. I have 12. Nope, my wife corrects me. I have 11 grandchildren. None of them are married. And I have a wife of 41 years, and we're in our 42nd year. That by itself is awesome. I would like to talk about greatness. I was going to share my experiences in scouting, music, and martial arts, but that would set a new disqualification record. So I will use music. My transcendental experience with music began in elementary school. I started with the trumpet, but found that was too painful for other people to listen to. So the trombone was soon my instrument of choice. It was much less painful for those listening. One of the requirements of being in the band program was the annual solo contest. My first year, I did very well. I got a gold medal. And then I also went on to compete against the students from 4 elementary schools for a trophy. Didn't get it. I continued playing the trombone through elementary, junior high, and high school, earning gold or silver each year. When I transitioned from junior high to high school, I was one of a dozen students admitted into the symphonic or the varsity band. The rest were admitted to the concert or junior varsity band. I was also a member of the Utah Youth Symphony for a short period of time. The band program always took first or second place in any competition. They performed throughout Utah, in California, Nevada, Washington, D.C., and in Canada. Near the end of my junior year, it was time for me to audition for a music scholarship. I did my audition. That day, I was offered a scholarship and invited to skip my senior year and enroll in college. I only needed 2 classes to finish my high school diploma, and they offered to help me get that while I was in college. Later in life, I performed Handel's Messiah with the community choir or orchestra for 25 years. In various endeavors, I have competed at the local, state, and national events. Why was I so great, and why are you great? You need to be good, but for me, it was much more than that. I was never the exceptional performer. I was never the #1 chair. How did I do it? My mother always provided me with private lessons or a tutor. I always had a tutor from elementary school into college. Later, at the age of 47, I decided to learn to play the cello. I figured I knew enough to do it by myself. I was wrong, so I had to hire a tutor. Looking back at my transcendental accomplishments have been the result of teams, tutors, and coaches that I've been associated with. Everyone can benefit from the right tutor or coach. I was great because the tutors, teams, and coaches were great. Greatness continues. Greatness in real estate. What is it going to take? Patience, practice, habits. I have read the script. Is that enough? Do you know the script? Have you memorized them? Have you mastered them? I have read the affirmation. Have you memorized them? Have you internalized them? Do you believe them? I see others cite them from memory, the entire list, beginning affirmation and ending affirmation. But I want to know how they say it so fast. I have never been able to keep up with them. I have been instructed in what needs to be done. Have you done it? More importantly, do you follow through? Do you just knock at the door, or do you walk through the door? Are you willing to? In conclusion, I have talked about my greatness or your greatness, why I or you are great, and continued greatness, what we're going to have to continue doing. We may be good, but the team will take us further. With the right team, we can achieve transcendental greatness that we desire. With this team, Everest, and those affiliated with us will help us to move forward. Team Everest is #1 office in the world for Century 21. #1 office in Utah across all brands and independent for units sold, 2013-2018. #2 company in the United States, Century 21, for all offices combined. I go back one page. You can't find a better team for greatness. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Great new notes. Yeah, I loved that. And you know what? It just never fails. No matter when you show up, you get great thoughts, encouragements. And speaking of teams, the team that we have here in Toastmasters is going to help project all of us into greatness, I believe, and help our personal development as well. We just have a great team here. I know there have been places in my life where I have had toxic people around me, and I find myself stuck and and feeling more like that victim mentality that I've mentioned before. And if I surround myself with people who are progressing and moving and developing and pushing themselves into uncomfortable places and looking for transcendental moments in their life and stuff, making those things happen, I seem to be a happier, more productive person. And I am so grateful, whoever got the idea of putting this group together. Thank you so much. This is going to help so many of us achieve our personal best and our developments and greatness that we need to have. Where are we on our time timer? Are we?
So we already have extra topics for impromptu, so we're going to start.
Good.
Yep.
Excellent.
So if
Thank
wanna
you.
introduce
So everyone's going to have to help volunteer. Brad.
I forgot one line in my talk. My next talk will be on humility.
Would be on. I don't know that would be necessary, but thank you. Whatever develops and you feel like you need to do. I want to make a comment about what you were talking about, Century 21. A couple of weeks ago, I had an incident where I had a listing and it was sort of a low price, and we had competing offers. 3 of the 4 offers that were competing were Century 21 agents. And I talked to management and I said, that was so great to see. There was such a level of professionalism that was handled. It was great to do. So moving to professionalism and greatness, let's move into our topics master. And Sue, welcome. And I'm looking forward to this. You're going to bring us some fun ideas.
No, this is my first time, everyone. So welcome to the table topics section, also impromptu. You've looked around at our numbers, so want you all to know that none of you, except for maybe Mackenzie, are safe today from being a potential speaker. Really quick, I just want to go over it for our guests, for anyone new, just a reminder, remember to use the word of the day, and that it needs to be 1 minute. If you don't go 1 minute, it doesn't qualify for the voting. So at 1 minute, you'll get green, you'll get yellow at 1.5, red at 2 minutes. If you go over 2.5, that's also disqualification. So, and we have a lot of opportunities for speakers, so it's gonna be tough competition for voting this week. I wanted to do something transcendental from the rest of the topics that we've done, so something a little bit different. We're gonna do a debate format today. So the person that goes first is gonna be the yes, and the person that's gonna go second is gonna be the no. I don't really want the no person to reference the other person's speak. You can comment on the topics, but since the first person isn't gonna get to do the rebuttal section, then I don't really want them to reference that and make it feel like that person doesn't get to come back and defend themselves. But I love this format because they suggested it on the website, and I used to be in debate in high school. And we had one section that was called sparring. It was spontaneous argumentation, and it's fun. It's fun to get up here and defend something. So that's what we're gonna do today. And so just remember, the first one's gonna be yes, and the first one's gonna be no. Do we have anybody that wants to volunteer before I start picking you at my leisure? All right, okay, we'll have Dustin, right? Dustin will go first, and then Fred will have you go second. So come on up. So the person that goes second has a little bit of an advantage because they know the question, whereas you get to find out right now that the first topic is a college education worth the time and money, and you are yes.
I'm yes.
When I was younger, I didn't have any money to go to college, and I didn't take it upon myself to get scholarships, grants. I did work full time to pay for college. After a while, I ended up dropping out. And then I spent the next 10 years struggling to climb up a corporate ladder without a college education. Even though a college education takes a lot of effort and money, it definitely is the shortcut to success in corporate America. It's the most common way to create wealth in America is through, it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut. And I highly recommend it. Having learned from experience the other way, from struggling to work my way up from the mailroom, I would have really loved to just start as an account manager. And y'all should do that. Okay, thanks.
All right, Fred. He's gonna come up here and give us the other side of that. Fred Law, everybody. Art champion. Out, you're in pain. You're just up here doing all the stuff, making funny jokes.
Well, we were talking about transcendental because I had dental yesterday. So anyway, as far as having the idea that being educated in college is the better way to go, I disagree with that completely. Because I had 1 semester in college, got out of college and started working full time. And when I did that, I did it for a couple of reasons. The first reason was I was in love with my wife. She was my girlfriend then. And so we got married. I was a young man. I was 18 when we got married.
Oh.
And so I had to really step up to the plate and make sure that I did everything I could do to provide for a family. So 47 years later of marriage and 50 years of knowing my wife, we have both agreed that I made the right choice in going right to work. So I started as a McDonald's manager in Holiday when I was young and grew in that position, and then later in life got into real estate. And I love being in real estate because I've always been able to do my own thing. So I have made more money in real estate than most of my counterparts that have had 4- and 8-year degrees in college. So I really believe that hard work, perseverance, transcendental effort will always make sure that you do the best you can. So I think get to work, roll up your sleeves, and you'll do better without a college degree.
got 2 volunteers? Okay, Trent and Terry. Trent, you want to be your yes? You ready? Come on up. I'm not even gonna give you the few extra seconds to walk up here before I tell you what you're gonna be doing. Okay. Should the penny be removed from circulation?
And I get to be yes?
You get to be yes.
Oh, I'm sorry for you, Terry. Should the penny be removed from circulation? That's a no-brainer. Who cares about their pennies in their pockets? You know, it is interesting to think about what the value of a penny is and how much inflation has affected our economy. Certainly we see that coins are becoming less and less valuable over time. You look at the amount of cost it takes to just create a penny. It doesn't make any sense to even continue to create those. Let's go ahead and invest in the things that really do make a difference for us. Why not even just go to Bitcoins? We could just get right away from all of our currency and just make it all easier. With just electronic currency would be a lot better way to do this anyway. Am I doing this backwards? Oh, it's because we're getting rid of pennies. Okay. Thank you. I started to think I'm making the wrong argument here. Oh goodness. So I definitely think that there is a value in removing the pennies from our currency altogether. We don't need to count the pennies anymore. We got way bigger things to count. Thank you.
Okay, Terry, you're up. You're going to tell us why we do need those pennies. Terry Taylor.
I think about the pennies that I've saved over the years. We have a little jar in our kitchen and we put our pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. Those pennies have added up. Every year we take that jar and we go to our bank, pour that change into the little machine, and out comes dollars. Wow. Pennies add up to dollars. So if we can keep those pennies that we find on the ground, that we find in our pockets, and we let them add up and add up, it does make a difference. It might be a little heavy in our pocket. When we can make those into dollars, and then those dollars we can give to charity. That's what we do. Every year we take that jar of pennies and a few quarters, dimes, and nickels. We deliver those to the charity of our choice. Pennies do make a difference.
Okay. We have 3 minutes. What do you think? Can we pop out 2 more? Let's do it, everybody. Do I have volunteers? Eric?
Yes, so.
All right. And then we got our 2 speakers. Oh, okay, Annette. Awesome. Great. Okay, so you're going to be yes, Eric, to our driver, Eric Trujillo, everybody. You ready? Okay. Are driverless cars the solution to pollution and traffic problems? And you are yes, they are the solution.
Driverless cars.
Yeah, no drivers.
This is towards a solution. Okay. I think that we need to get rid of these cars that we're driving ourselves. Look at our city, you know, it's getting populated outrageously. We can't stop growing. And with that comes more vehicles. And in result, what's our air quality like? Terrible. So I think that with that being said, we got to eliminate the amount of people driving and reduce the amount of vehicles that are on our streets. And I think by doing that, it'd be resourceful to have cars that drive themselves and have them be on a set schedule. Maybe have companies, you know, team up with other companies that are having these vehicles and say, hey, you know, we need this many people here at this time. Let's have you do a big carpool. So then that way, you know, we can cut down and have almost half the amount of vehicles on the road and make it so that maybe too, you know, people might actually get on their bicycles or even take a walk, and it might encourage the whole movement to not have to need a vehicle of your own. And that's why I think we would do better without a vehicle of our own to become more transcendental in the way that we take care of our environment.
Alright, Annette Judd, our esteemed Toastmaster. Tell us the opposite. Thanks so much.
Have you ever been in a car where it slows down because someone's getting too close or changing or drifting over into your lane and it brakes? Just by raise a hand, does anybody have that experience? I drove a car in Australia when I was there, and it had an automatic thing on it that knew the speed limit. So I'd get up to pass somebody, and it was already freakishly weird because I was driving on the other side of the road and on the other side of the car. No, I'm over here. I'm over here in the car, and I go to pass somebody, and all of a sudden my car puts the brakes on me. It was so hard for me to get used to release that control over to a machine. If we were to get to the point where we had cars that were driving for us or vehicles that were driverless and driving for us, it would be very difficult for us to be able to give up that control and that intelligence. And then I'm sort of that person, I'm not a real fan of someone being in control of a vehicle that I'm in. You know, I'm trusting that instincts, the software in the car or the vehicle that I'm driving in. Did they do their job well? Is this really going to get me to my destination safely? Is it really aware of the dangers around me? I'm a kind of an alert driver. I learned very early from my father how to be a defensive driver. So I'm paying attention to everybody else, what they're doing around me. And I don't know if I could trust a car to do that. So I would say no, we don't need driverless cars.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you thought that was fun. I thought it was fun. You all did a great job. Mackenzie, did everybody fall into their timing allotment?
Everyone did.
Oh boy, game on, everybody. Okay, well, thank you all so much. I'll turn the time back over to Annette to move on. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Michelle. That was fun. Always a delight. I love the way people always have a creative way of creating, introducing those topics. They're always fun. And I hope y'all learned something. Did everybody kind of get some from our speeches today? I think you kind of all, I hopefully did get something new. I know I wrote down some quotes. We need to move into our evaluations portions of our meeting. So for our first, I need to turn the time over to Ruby. Excellent, thank you, Ruby. She's our general evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What wonderful speeches. Thank you so much, Joanna and Brad. We really appreciate everything. We're going to go ahead and start with the evaluations, and we're going to start with our first evaluator. Let's see. Actually, I wrote some notes down. But we're going to start with, we'll start with their evaluations, then we'll go through all the meeting rules and have everyone come up and kind of give their report. We'll go ahead and start with our first evaluator, Eric Trujillo. Please come up.
Alrighty, Joanna. Well, I gotta start off by saying you did a wonderful job. I really enjoyed your speech. So the things that you excelled at, I would say, would be involving the crowd and allowing us to feel and relate and have sympathy for your story. It was really interactive with the way that you asked us questions and kept us involved. You may want to work on starting off a little bit more confidently. I think that just when you first started, you kind of were smiling out of nerves and trying to think of what to say, and you were saying "and" a lot. So maybe what might help you with challenging yourself is, in the very beginning, involve the crowd a little bit more, ask them how they're doing, and create sort of an energy to maybe get you a little bit more confident when you start your speech out. Other than that, thank you for encouraging us to becoming more transcendental in our lives.
I appreciate your feedback and evaluation on Joanna. Joanna, that was a wonderful experience that you shared with us. We really appreciate that. The next evaluator, I would love to call up Dustin Erickson. He evaluated Brad Christensen. Please welcome him.
Alrighty, Brad, thank you so much for giving us backstory and a glimpse into your life and relating that back to us as realtors, a common experience. I loved your use of humor. You got a few laughs during the talk. The content was great. I thought it was thoughtful and engaging. I did not hear any filler words like and anything like that. So it was great content. You may want to work on vocal tone. I noticed many of your sentences would start like low, come up high, and then finish low. Low, go up high, and then finish low. It sounded like this rolling wave. Anyway, that was just some vocal tone. Maybe practice in a mirror. Also engaging the audience with more eye contact and gestures. I think that would be transcendental to your progress. So, challenge to yourself would be to memorize your talk so you can engage with the audience more directly and have a very sincere delivery.
I didn't hear the last part.
Have a sincere delivery instead of like a kind of a sing-songy tone.
Okay.
That's all.
Erickson. What did I say?
Yes, he called me Eric.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm sorry. Dustin Erickson. Oh, I apologize. I knew that. I just wrote Erickson and I underlined it. I apologize. Thank you so much for the evaluations. I really appreciate that and wonderful job, Brad and Joanna. We're going to call up our grammarian, Dan Connolly, for his report. Please welcome.
Okay, so I think everyone did pretty well. Annette, you used the word twice. Once at the beginning and then once toward the end there. Let's see, Joanna, you used the word. Brad did. Sue did. Dustin did twice, once when the table topic, and then once when the evaluation. Fred did twice in his speech. I'm pretty sure I caught Trent and Terry both said it. Trent did. Okay.
Doesn't surprise me.
Okay. Let's see. And I think, are you supposed to say it or not? Because I don't know if you.
Well, I'm not done yet.
And that's it. Okay. Yes.
All right, well, thank you so much. Next, I would love to call up on our all-counter, Chris Ferguson.
Excellent. This is hilarious because myself, of all people, counting the ahs, the ums, the so's, double clutches, I had a very hard time recognizing it, I believe, because I do it so often. In addition to that, getting engrossed in your messages at times, it's difficult to hear those things. One quick announcement I do want to make to those that are new, and a reminder to those that know already, if you are taking part in the meeting, we ask that you don't volunteer for other deals like the table topic speech or things like that. So just to spread the involvement, I just use so, counting myself still, but just to spread the involvement to other members in the meeting, we'd appreciate that. Okay, so when we got to let's do. When we get to 5, double clutch. When we get to 5, so people, I'm gonna sit down now. When we get to 5, I'm simply limiting it at 5. So if so. Annette, let me just start. Annette, when you had begun the we have 5 plus as Toastmaster, 2 so's. Dan, when you were announcing the grammarian role, I have 1 so. I was writing on the board. I may have missed something. Joanna, we have 3 ers. Brad, only 1 double clutch. Very good job. Sue, 1 but. Dustin, the first time you had come up, 2 ers and 1 double clutch. Fred, I have 1 and 4 so's. I use so's quite often, so I can understand that. Trent, 1 so, 1 like or you know, and then 1 double clutch. Terry, incredible. You didn't hit 1 thing. So very good job. Very good job. Eric Trujillo, we have 2 ers, 1 so, 1 like or you know. Annette, when you were doing your table topic speech, 1 1 like or you know. Ruby, 1 I'm just gonna say Eric, when you would come up for your evaluation, I have 5 ers. Dustin, the same, 5 ahs, 1 so and 2 double clutches. Dan, I have 4 ahs. I want to also say one thing that I learned through doing this. When we prepare our speeches, it's much easier when we're sharing content to not fall back on the ahs, the double clutches, the so's. However, when we're thinking of what to say, all on the fly, that is most difficult. When those are sharing evaluations, you've probably noticed that that's where the ahs, so's, and whatnot increase. So just remember that. Thank you very much. Good job, everyone.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, now we'll have Mackenzie come up and give our timer report for the day.
Okay, big group today. So we've stayed on schedule really well. We're actually a couple minutes ahead. So good for everyone, especially with how many speakers we've had. Just some feedback. We had some of our participants who showed up either right at 12 or even a few minutes late, which makes everyone a little stressed because then we kind of have to fill roles. So just keep that in mind as well. But I'll just go through everyone's time and tell you what you got. So, and keep in mind too, for your second speech, it can be 5 to 7 minutes long. So the disqualification time is 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So Joanna, nice job, 6 minutes, 51 seconds. Brad, 5 minutes, 46 seconds. Dan Conley on, let's see, I know you spoke a couple times, but both times you're about 55 seconds, and then your second evaluation was 2 minutes, 11 seconds, so a little bit over. Sue Cragen, 1 minute, 55 seconds, perfect. Eric, for your impromptu speech, you were 1 minute and 15 seconds, so right on time. And then with your evaluation, a little short at 51 seconds. Dustin Erickson, impromptu speech, 1 minute, 21 seconds, nice job. And your evaluation was 2 minutes. Annette, for your impromptu speech, you were 1 minute, 34 seconds, so great job. There were a couple times where we got a little off minute count, so just like some talking in between then, but overall, you did a good job at keeping us on track. Yeah. Fred Law, 1 minute, 28 seconds. Great job on your impromptu speech. Trent, 1 minute, 10 seconds on yours. Terry, 1 minute, 8 seconds. Ruby, yours was 28 seconds when you were introducing your people. And Chris, 3 minutes and 1 second. But Chris did give a really important announcement that will help everyone be more involved in our chapter. So that's it. Great job, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mackenzie, and thank you for everyone that participated today. Really appreciate everyone's efforts. and getting better. I just want to say when the meeting started, we started just about a minute late. We request everyone to come a few minutes early, just like the grammarian, if you're hanging up the paper or the signs, we'd like that done beforehand so that it doesn't distract anyone or take more extra time. Same thing with phones, or if anyone is like talking or has to exit, please do it in between, or try not to do that at all. Let's try to just enjoy the speeches so there's no distractions. If there's any changes in the agenda, that's why we want everyone to come a little bit early, just at least minimum of 10 minutes early, just so you can meet your evaluators, or if there's any changes that we can go through that. Transitions through the speakers were great. I think they could be a little bit smoother. Maybe sometimes we go off of topic. Let's try to stay on agenda today because someone had an emergency, they weren't able to speak, so we were able to do more impromptu speakers. I loved the impromptu speeches and the topics. It was great. It was enthusiastic and it was different, and so we love that. Thank you so much for that, Sue. Otherwise, it went really great. I had a couple of other notes. Oh, there's my
Ruby, can I just throw in? And
Yes,
that's
please.
a really great example of using the website and pathways. Sue was a great example of that.
Yes, definitely. So thank you. We had, I want to emphasize just the importance of giving positive and supportive and honest evaluations. So I really appreciate the evaluations from both of you today, especially Dustin and Eric. I know you guys have only, this is like your second time I've been coming in. So I really appreciate you guys really jumping in and giving great evaluations. That's just here to help develop more skills. So I appreciate that. Otherwise it was transcendental. There you go, Dan. I said it. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
We are in our agenda at the point where we get to do our awards for last week. Our best evaluator for last week is Timber Weiss. She's not here. We will see that she gets that. Our best table topics speaker was Dustin Erickson. Picture taking moment, buddy.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. There's your frame that. Share it on social media. Yes,
Take a
we
picture.
got our picture taken. Thank you.
I'm sorry the candy
Congratulations.
is somewhere else, so we'll have to get that to you next week. Okay? Saving it from the dentist. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Woo! Good job, Dustin.
What are you handing me? Oh, the next one. Our best speaker from last week is Terry Taylor. I'll award it to you.
Oh, shake hands. Thank you.
Great job. Smile big. Thank you.
Congratulations. Back to the agenda. Oh, I think we're wrapped up, aren't we? Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to be your Toastmaster MC. I'm sweating bullets, so obviously I'm uncomfortable in this role. Hopefully, as the more times I have an opportunity to fulfill this role, I'll do a better job and become more comfortable in it, I hope. Leave you with a final thought. Life loses its meaning when we get stuck in a comfort zone. Norman Mailer. Any other comments or anything we need to bring up in our meeting or anything else anybody needs to add? Thank you. Our guest.
You're doing a fantastic job. It is so good to see everyone out here despite that weather. It's great. We are having a transcendental moment. District 15 is having our annual conference May 3rd and 4th in Ogden at the Echo Conference Center. Because you guys are all first timers, you can still come for the low rate of $90, which includes all your meals. The keynote speaker is Rich Hopkins. Rich Hopkins used to be in District 15, and he is the subject of a documentary you can get on YouTube, or not on YouTube, on Netflix called Speak. We will be screening the movie Speak, and Rich will be there to give a Q&A session, plus he'll be speaking, plus we have our international director, Mary Morrison, plus we have the infamous District 15 Hospitality Suite, where I'm told you can get adult beverages for free. So I would encourage each and every one of you to come, please go to the website district15conference.org and you can register. Thank you.
The more we get involved with our national organization, the better off we'll all be. And I wanted to comment on your comment about the speeches. The reason I'm doing this is so that I am better at the impromptu, not the memorized speech. So thank you, Chris, for that comment that you made earlier. And I'm going to turn the time back over to you.
Okay, great, thank you. What a great meeting, everyone. Thank you all very much for being here. We will disseminate more information when it comes. We'll email you that information on.
Want $5 for that word?
I'll take it.